I'd like to call this Jacksonville Planning Advisory Board regular meeting to order. It is now 6 o'clock, and at this time we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Bob and invocation by Steve.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you much for such a beautiful day. Maybe a little on the chilly side, but it's been nice. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to do the city of Jacksonville's work in the planning areas here. Give us the knowledge, wisdom, and the persuasive abilities to go ahead and get council along with the city of Jacksonville to see what we see in these points. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Grace. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed like. Motion passes. Next item is the review and approval of minutes. There are no changes. Motion would be in order.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Chase. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed like. Motion passes. City Council update. I understand there is no update, correct? Okay. So we'll move right to over old business. There is none. So we'll go to new business. I believe Jeremy's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Advisory Board. We're new technology tonight, so bear with me. Your first item on the agenda is a Tallman Track rezoning. This is located on the Jacksonville Parkway. This is a rezoning request from RSF 7 and CC, corridor commercial, to residential multifamily high density. Many of you may be familiar with this property as we just reviewed it a few months back. There was a request submitted to rezone a portion of it, making the entire track, this track, corridor commercial. However, before it got to city council, the applicant withdrew, plans changed, and they are now resubmitting with a request to rezone this 30.7 acres from RSF 7 and CC to residential multifamily low density. Apologies. Notice the site before you on the screen. The existing zoning is, as I said before, residential single family 7 and corridor commercial. Across Jacksonville Parkway is a tract zoned residential single family 7 and undeveloped. To the north and to the west are various retail properties and hotels zoned corridor commercial. And then to the south across Trade Street is undeveloped property zoned corridor commercial. The bright red on the screen before you identifies this tract as regional commercial, as are all bordering properties and those across both Jacksonville Parkway and Trade Street. For you is what this property would look like if it were to be rezoned to residential multifamily high density. Again, this tract is 30.7 acres. This is a straight rezoning, and it is an increase in density from the RSF 7 to RMF HD, but it is not an increase in the CC area. CC has an unlimited density, so changing it from RMF HD would be a reduction in density. Staff is recommending approval of this request with findings of fact A through J being found in the affirmative, that the rezoning advances the public interest by creating more development opportunities. Staff, along with representatives of the property owners, are in attendance to answer any questions that the board may have.
I have one question. When, the size of this is 30 acres?
Yeah, at one point, this was all one track that went across Jacksonville Parkway and also Trade Street. Since the time that we considered this property before for the corridor commercial rezoning, the property owners had it subdivided via an exempt plat, basically 3 lots over 10 acres each. And so now you have individual tracks on each side of the parkway and on Trade Street. So this property in front of you tonight is 30.7 acres.
And at its, basically, since it's now if it would be multifamily, how many units could fit in that property?
I do not know the exact, because you have to take in consideration, there are wetlands on the property. There is some DOT projects that will impact it, as well as infrastructure, driveways. I can just tell you that the density, I believe, is for residential multifamily, high density is, and excuse me, I should know this as much as I work with it. I believe the density is 25 units per acre. So if you took it at its basis, it would be 25 units per 1 acre of the 30 total. But again, the environmental, the setbacks, buffering on the property, landscaping, parking requirements, all impacts that. And that's always one thing we tell developers when or prospective buyers or realtors, hey, what's the maximum we can get on there? Well, if you could just put units on it, this is what you could do, but there's other things you got to meet as far as the city's concerned.
And there's no way, they would not get any access to the parkway other than what they get through Trade Street, correct?
So DOT will give them, they have a shown access on Trade Street as far as access on the parkway. I believe those are all already made with Trade Street and further north on the other drives that go there beside the Burlington Coats Factory. I do not believe there are any more identified direct accesses.
There's one access on Jacksonville Parkway, from what I understand, a deeded access. It'll be right in, right out, from what I understand.
Good.
I think you'd be right about here, I believe.
Does this affect the person or the property owners on Moose Haven? As far as like if they were to develop their properties, are they gonna have to do different things if we change this to high density residential?
I will back up to the current zoning map. So the change will affect this property right here. Right now, if these properties along here were to currently redeveloped, they would have to still put in the same 30-foot type A buffer that they would under the RMF HD zoning designation.
Has that property owner been contacted or?
They will receive notices in the mail once we schedule a public hearing to go before City Council at City Council's second meeting in January, which this is, if it makes it through the board tonight, that is the meeting it will go to.
Is there any sort of a sewage or any kind of impact too, as far as that goes?
That would be considered when there's a proposal. City utilities are available to it. The specific question of, is there a capacity? I have yet to hear of a capacity issue with development in this area of the city of Jacksonville, but it will be serviced. It is in the city limits and it would be serviced by city utilities.
And the only reason that it's single family is that originally it was just part of a bigger plot that got cut in half
Correct.
by the parkway. So
Correct.
You really didn't have, I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever to keep it residential, single family. Nobody's going to put a house there.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Chairman, May I make a motion?
Please do.
I would move that we support the request, and I move that we grant rezoning upon finding that the rezoning is reasonable, considering one or more of the above findings of fact, that A through J on our packet is found in the affirmative, and that the rezoning advances the public interest.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. You got that? Motion, second. Any other discussion?
You said A through J.
Yep.
It's I. It's
Hearing none? All those in-
I did have one other question.
Okay, go ahead.
Does it deviate from sort of on E on the denying a zoning request, sort of like a logical and orderly pattern? I'm sorry, Jeremy. On section E on denying the rezoning request, does this deviate from a logical and orderly development pattern? Have we sort of set a precedent that we're moving forward on commercial corridor in that area?
I don't believe so because of the regional commercial designation in our land use code, in our land use development plan, identifies multifamily as one of the uses in that. It's just that's your most intense and broad zoning district, and it is a combination. While it is sandwiched between the properties along Moose Haven and Western and the Jacksonville Parkway, it is a logical transition from commercial on Western through to residential, over through the Parkway, now to lower density residential that'll exist over towards the Branchwood area.
Okay.
So I believe it's logical pattern of development.
Okay. Very good. Sorry about that.
Very good. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any other discussion?
I make a motion to second.
Wait, we've got
I'm
a
sorry.
second.
Got that.
We have motion and second.
Yes.
It's okay? Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. Next up, City Council, after public hearing. Number 2,
Yes, sir.
go for it.
107 Richlands Avenue is agenda item 2 on the Planning Advisory Board docket. Rezone from residential multifamily low density to corridor commercial. Notice the property before you, the project site is owned by the same owners of Jacksonville 4x4. They are the applicant in this case, Mr. Danny Rose. This property is currently zoned residential multifamily low density. And to the northeast, southeast, and northeast properties across Richlands Avenue are all zoned residential multifamily low density. And those properties bordering it that also border North Marine Boulevard are zoned corridor commercial. And then across Richlands Avenue, you can see the property owned by the Motel 6 and the Waffle House is zoned corridor commercial. I would point out, I'm going to draw some more. All these properties here are owned by Grace Baptist Church. This property is owned by the hotel, and these two properties are owned by the Mai Tai restaurant. This is the Camel Land Use Plan before you, and it identifies this .41 acre tract of land as low-density residential. It is currently undeveloped. Grace Baptist Church property, most of them are identified as public/institutional, with these two remaining as LDR. They are also currently undeveloped, and the rest of the boarding properties are identified as neighborhood commercial. Staff is recommending approval of rezoning this .41 acre tract of land to corridor commercial based on findings of fact, A through J being found in the affirmative, and to direct staff to update the CAMA future land use map. Therefore, the rezoning would advance the public interest by creating more development opportunities. Before you is what this property would look like on a map if it was rezoned corridor commercial. If you recall, several years ago, some of the members were here, some of you weren't, so I will give you a history. The property about 4 blocks down, directly behind the Dunkin' Donuts, was rezoned in a very similar fashion to gain that property more access to, one, take advantage of improving traffic conditions on it, and also staff at that time and still feels that the 2 to 3 block encroachment into the neighborhood off of North Marine Boulevard, looking at the Camelanias plan, is a suitable route based on what's going on in the development trend in the area. The neighborhood commercial is identified along the North Marine corridor going both north and south. I just wanted you to have that info, and that's why we are recommending approval. Mr. John Pierce is here representing the applicant. He and staff will be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
And Jeremy, consistent, the adjacent property owners will be notified when it goes before council.
Correct.
But I can't imagine that anybody would have a concern. Do you see any reason why an adjacent property owner wouldn't think this was?
There may be the question, when it develops, would they have to put in a buffer? And the answer would be yes. It would be a different zoning classification, and they would, whenever this site is developed, would have to put in a type A 30-foot buffer along those 2 property lines. I mean, it would have to meet all of our design and parking, landscaping standards. The adjacent property owners in this case will be the Grace Baptist Church and these 3 property owners right here, one of them being the applicant. There will be a sign put on the property, a notice run in the Daily News. I can't speculate. The second I say someone's shouldn't have an issue, we may have some folks who do have issue.
Okay.
But staff is.
They'll have the opportunity to bring that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I guess the question I have, it doesn't really matter in this case, but are there any residential units being used? What's the closest residence to this? Thank you.
So your closest residential unit would be on this property up here, and that is currently under ownership of the Tony Chow estate. These properties are undeveloped. From what I understand, I think the hotel uses this as an office. It's grandfathered. It's been there for many years. I have not, when working on the staff report, it is a commercial water account. So that tells me it's not used residentially. Again, these properties are vacant, and this is a storage building the church uses. And talking with our code enforcement division, that storage building may be going away here in the near future, just due to deterioration.
Churches, they can be zoned under commercial corridor or residential.
So under the residential multifamily low density, they require a special use permit. I did not do the research. I know we did on Roosevelt Church across the street. They recently obtained a special use permit with the adoption of the Unified Development Ordinance in 2014. In all residential zones except high density, churches were identified as special use. So anytime a church does a major renovation or an expansion, if they do not have a special use permit, we guide them in that direction. I think the most recent was Jacksonville Baptist on Gum Ranch Road. And now, and then recently they did some modular classrooms there that required them to go through this board and then to city council. It was administrative, because they had an existing special use permit, but that's what would happen if, I do not believe Grace Baptist Church has one. So if they do any future expansions, we'll guide them through that process. It has been there long before you and I were here, I believe. In fact, they're one of 2 or 3 churches that still has some of the residual off-site signs on North Marine Boulevard pointing you to them, so they have been here quite a while. So that would be, that's, if they were ever to come through with an expansion, that's what we would help them.
Ready for a motion?
Please.
Motion to recommend that City Council approve the rezoning request, accepting the evaluation found within the staff report based on findings of fact A through J, being found to the affirmative. And, of course, staff to update the KMA use map. The rezoning advanced the public interest by creating more development opportunities.
So we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed alike. Motion passes. Number 3, Jeremy, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is another rezoning. This is at Drummer Kellum Road and Ramsey, the corner of Drummer Kellum Road and Ramsey Road. This is another split zoned area, residential single-family 20 and residential multifamily low density, or the request is to rezone from residential single-family 20 to residential multifamily low density in corridor commercial. You'll notice the location on the property, on the site before you. The line, the dark lines drawn on the map is this property has been there has been a recombination of parcels creating the 5 parcels in question tonight. And so staff had those drawn in, but that's what it represents and that's what is on the books, so to speak. Again, this property is zoned residential, single-family 20. To the south is a subdivision, single-family dwellings, zoned residential multifamily low density. Across Ramsey Road is property in the county's jurisdiction. To the east is property in the county's jurisdiction outside of a few parcels. To the northeast, zoned residential single-family used for single-family dwellings. And then across Drummer Kellum is more single-family properties used for single-family dwellings, zoned residential single-family 20 and residential multifamily low density respectively. Before you on the screen is the Campbell land use plan identifying the bulk of this area as low-density residential with some medium-density residential to the far south. If rezoned, this is what the request would look like. And to go over the specifics, B&M Developers LLC has submitted this request. Their request is to rezone 5 parcels, 4 of which total 2.92 acres, and that request is to rezone from residential single-family 20 to CC. That is the 4 properties along here. And then the rest of the property, the large tract, 45.09 acres, rezoned from residential single-family 20 to residential multifamily low density. To give you some perspective on the 4 lots along Ramsey Road, they are approximately 125 feet wide, 150 plus feet deep. So imagine the scale on this map is pretty large as we're zoomed back. Staff is recommending approval of this request with findings of fact A through J being found in the affirmative if staff is directed to update the CAMA future land use map. The rezoning advances the public interest by creating more development opportunities. Ms. Lori Morris with Tidewater and Associates, representing the applicant, and myself, we're happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Jeremy, my only concern would be that adjacent property owners have a chance to say what they think.
That includes those in the county. Those 2 properties that border it, that are in the county's jurisdiction, by law would still receive a notice in the mail. This being a large combination of properties, I imagine we will put 2 to 3 signs on the property, 1 at the corner, 1 further down Drummer Kellum, and 1 further down Ramsey Road.
Yeah.
That way you get notification, plus our normal ad in the daily news.
I have a
Yes, ma'am.
Where are they gonna have access to get into, on both ends?
Without any formal plans submitted, I could only speculate. These are DOT roads, so DOT is going to weigh heavily on their spacing from the intersection. If you are been out there recently, I think over the last year, they put a three-way stop at that intersection.
Right.
I would not be surprised if some traffic studies or some major traffic improvements were required with any new developments there. Can't say for sure, but with commercial and high traffic counts, that can happen. But they would have to meet not only city requirements, but because they are on NCDOT roads, they will have to meet their spacing and any stacking distances from intersections.
Can you identify the roads around this for us?
The road? Yeah, I'll go to a clearer map. So this is, yeah, I apologize, apologies, the names aren't on here, but this would be Drummer Kellum, and this will be Ramsey right here.
And the one that tees into it from the lower? Okay.
This is it, it is a cul-de-sac into a subdivision. Unfortunately, I do not have the names on the map. I apologize about that.
Yeah.
And the existing homes that are on that land, they're owned by the current property owner now?
Yes,
But they're within the city limits now, is that right?
this is not annexed yet, that they
Okay.
would,
Yeah.
from my understanding, and Ms. Morris may confirm,
Okay,
but they will be seeking annexation in order to
Okay.
get city utilities.
I just wondered because of Oslo County really is surrounding.
So that cul-de-sac is Jennifer Drive.
Yes.
And just to the south of that, you've got the Country View Apartments, which is in the city limits. And then also Harvest Meadows, which is the subdivision that Jeremy's highlighting. That is also, not necessarily the one is along Drummer Kellum.
Oh, sorry.
But the back subdivision, that's one of the first single-family subdivisions we've had in probably a decade. They're out there building houses today. There's
Okay.
2 or 3 builders out there building.
And all that property that Mr. King was mentioning is in the
Is
city
in-
limits
in the ci-
currently.
Has been
Yeah,
annexed.
these properties right there, all, that's city limits.
Okay.
There's a pump station somewhere, and I'm not sure where that is right now, but, so it's probably served by, on Wausau Water, if I had to guess, and city sewer.
We've identified, I think we've discussed it before with the Planning Advisory Board, but the New Bern Highway up to Drummer Kellum to Ramsey Road has always been one of our identified high-growth areas. And I believe this rezoning request and the one we discussed last month on New Bern Highway are a result of that push for more growth and more development opportunities.
Is the commercial corridor part of this, is it in deviation from where you guys have been going with this development so far?
I don't believe so because it's location at a very busy intersection, not to create more traffic at a busy intersection, but that is typically, these are busy roads and that's typically where your commercial can be provided. It provides a service not just for the developments around it, but that moving traffic. Ramsey Road services all the way out to Gum Ranch Road. The county itself has a trend to be developing more commercial along Ramsey Road. You will notice that right outside of Carolina Plantation, not far down the road.
So this would be a similar style?
I would think
same-
that's what it would be set up as. But again, without the specific submittals, anything is game for the CC if that's what it is.
How does this land area fit in with the extension?
Yes. Of Ramsey Road.
The Parkway extension?
Yes.
So while it has not been designed fully, I think it's in what they call the 25% area. That, if you are familiar where the new Jacksonville Fire Station number 4 is being built, and the future One Place,
Yes.
the Parkway is going to kind of snake through those properties, and then across, if you're familiar with the Bill McRae track, that is the large track behind the Public or Gateway Marketplace Shopping Center, and go through that property well northwest of this property.
So Ramsey Road is going to be the bypass. Or close to it.
While I am not in transportation services in that department, when you look at some of the future road projects, I think Ramsey Road has a place in providing access around Jacksonville. And that will come with improvements on Ramsey Road.
Right.
It's just a matter of DOT getting and granting that funding.
Going from Gum Branch to Highway 17.
Which it does now.
Yeah, it does it now.
Right, a lot of people use it.
Jacksonville Parkway traffic, but I think you could argue that those same people would be going through town. Now they'll just ride the Parkway to Ramsey,
Right.
to the north part of town, to head north.
Jeremy, refresh us on low density versus high density.
So low density allows single family and duplexes. High density, everything I just stated, in apartments and townhomes. Again, that's why they're proposing the low density. They may be looking at single family duplex style packages. I think it would be, I would be wrong not to mention that while multifamily is allowed in the CC district, because of the status of Ramsey Road basically being a main road now, they would not have the potential to do multifamily on those 4 tracks if they're rezoned. Those would be solely commercial. And the reason is that multifamily in the CC district has a 350-foot setback along main roads, and they wouldn't be able to meet that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Recommend the city council approve the rezoning request, accepting the evaluation found within the staff report based on findings of fact A through J being found to the affirmative. The rezoning advances the public interest by creating more development opportunities.
That good?
Second.
Second? Nick? Yes, sir. Good job. Okay, any other discussion? Don't want to leave anybody out. Any other discussion? Motion being made and duly seconded, and no other discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes.
Okay. So that just
Okay, Ryan,
careful
you're up.
with plantation.
Thank you, Chairman, Planning Board members. The items that you decided on tonight, recommended approval on, will be heard on January the 23rd. So that'll be Tuesday, January 23rd of 2024. Remember not too long ago, it was Y2K, the computers were going to crash.
Yeah.
That was nearly 24 years ago. Can y'all believe that? Crazy. I was thinking about that the other day. So with that being said, as always, we thank you for your service. Looking forward to a prosperous 2024, and I really hope and wish that the board members and everybody that may be watching us on G10 has a safe and happy holiday and happy new year, because the next time this board will convene, it will be 2024.
Most definitely.
That's all that I have, Mr. Chairman. Planning Board.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn, second. Second. Meeting adjourned.